The fact of the matter is what is the stat? 90% of businesses fail. Chris Collins here. I'm the Business Whisperer. If you want to make $200,000 a year, call me. I can figure out how to get you there. I don't care what you do. You're going to have to scrape and fight for everything. It's going to hurt a little bit at first. I've been a turnaround specialist, gun for hire for over 20 years, fixing businesses of all types. It's really the wrong question is where should I market? The right question is how do I figure out where the hungry crowd is? Being in business for yourself is lonely, and it can be pretty hard. It's all ego and, like, who's got the bigger dick. I hate all that. So I want you to join us, because everyone starts somewhere.
I appreciate all that you're doing for the business sector.
Am I the Business Whisperer?
You are the Business Whisperer.
You have to remember, business is war, so let's fuel up and get ready for battle. Welcome to the Business Whisperer. We have a fun show today for you. Of course, we're going to have dirty business news with the beautiful Miss Diamond. I've hand curated some of those news stories. They're going to be exciting. If you have a question, if you're stuck, you need business advice, marriage advice, basically any advice, I'm here for you. The number is 8337-WHISPER. Nichols will screen your call. If you're, we haven't had a crank call in a while. Nichols, you have to screen out the crank calls.
The one we did have was pretty funny, though.
Yeah, it was good. It snuck in there early in our experience
Yes.
here. So we have some fun shows. I had a little business lesson that I learned on Friday. There's actually a couple lessons there, but you know when you buy stuff during the holidays, some of the stores will give you a gift card that's only good for like a 2-week period during March.
Yeah, you have to come back in 3 weeks and then you can use it. Yeah.
So I had one of those and it was going to expire last weekend.
Okay.
And so basically my last day to use it was Friday or Saturday. And so I kicked out of here a little early on Friday and went to Barney's in Beverly Hills. Because it literally was like a $2,000 card.
Oh, what?
And it's kind of a weird thing that you have like $2,000 on a card that you can spend, but you really don't want anything.
Man, we live very different lives.
What do you mean?
No one's ever given me a $2,000 gift card for shopping somewhere.
No?
No.
Well, it's like a rebate on...
No, I know.
what you
Mine's been
spend.
like $50 or something.
Oh, no. This was like...
To get you a pair of underwear.
$2,200.
Oh, wow.
And so on the way to Beverly Hills, I was like, okay, well, I want to have dinner in Beverly Hills, and my favorite restaurant is Cut, who has the best steaks anywhere in the world, I think.
Phenomenal. I've been there once.
Yeah. I've had dreams about the steaks there. And so we go to Barney's. Right when I get off the elevator at Barney's, I see Jimmy Kimmel. And I've seen Jimmy Kimmel there before. I've actually talked to him there before. I don't know why he hangs out at Barney's.
You guys
in Beverly
shop
Hills.
together.
Yeah. I've met a lot of cool people at that Barney's.
Okay.
I met Max Gladwell there once.
Really?
I heard his voice. I was shopping in the men's department. I heard his voice, and I go, that's Gladwell. And I turn around, and I go, you're Gladwell. And he's like, yeah, thanks for pointing out the obvious.
Well, I was gonna ask, what's the protocol when you see someone like that in a store? Because once when I was a child, I was in a mall with my cousins and my aunt and uncle, and we saw Webster, who was like 30 at the time, but he was smaller than me. And we were scared to go approach him. And then he went into a little kid's clothing store because he's tiny to buy clothes. And we just walked in and looked like we were looking for clothes. And they were like, hey, are you Webster?
And then what did he say?
He was like, yeah. Or, whatever he sounds
Did you
like.
get your picture? Back then, you probably had to have like a camera.
You would have to have a full-on camera with
Look
you
like a
back then.
tourist.
Yeah, so no, we didn't get a photo with him. But years later, I was working this music festival, and Webster randomly showed up. So I took him on stage with me to introduce Def Leppard.
Oh.
So that
Did you tell him about the story?
No, because I thought it would be weird. Like, it was like, 20 years ago, I met you in a clothing store for children. That's odd. That's some Michael Jackson stuff.
Okay. Well, the first time I met Jimmy Kimmel at Barney's, I asked him for a picture. And this time, I just caught eyes with him and just did the nod. And then he kind of was shopping for something. And then the person I was with, I was like, did you see Jimmy Kimmel? And just as I said that, I turn and look, and he's right behind me, and he heard me say it.
Did you yell it?
No, but I felt like I felt like such a
Hey, did you
moron.
see Jimmy Kimmel over there?
Yeah. That's exactly what it was like. And so he just disappeared. That was it. He was gone.
I used to go to his show. Like, I knew one of his writers really well. So I used to go to his show and hang out backstage in that VIP area, which was always kind of trippy because it'd be celebrities just hanging out and stuff. But it was open bar, so.
Yeah, he's done a good job of creating an atmosphere where people want to hang out.
Yeah, and he really is a friendly guy. Like, he's really nice, down to earth.
I wasn't going to bother him. But
yeah.
no.
But you yelled his name in the store,
Yeah.
so.
No, I did that, so that was funny. So then.
Well, what did you buy with the $2,000?
A bunch of stuff.
A sweater.
Yeah. One sweater.
Sweater vest.
This green sweater vest. It was
Nice.
$200. And the tie.
And technically free.
You can't see the tie clip. Yeah, technically. But somehow they're making that work. No, the truth of the matter is just like you would expect and you would want that, and anybody in business who's doing crazy things like giving rebates like that, I spent more money than the $2,000.
Well, because the point of it is to get you back in the store.
And it worked.
And once you're back in the store, you're going to buy a ton of
so
stuff.
I'm gonna guess I spent another $1,000 on top of the $2,000.
Wow.
So it worked for them.
I opted for dessert at dinner the other night, so that was my big splurge.
So then I go over to Cut. I had a little reservation. I love Cut, and there's the sommelier there is the greatest guy. He's this young kid that's kind of taken over. His name's Cameron. We're going to have him on Business Outlaws actually coming up. I want to break down like what he did with the wine list there, how he approached the pricing of it, the ordering of it, all of it. But he's amazing. And so him and I kind of have this thing where, I'm like, he's like, so you want some wine? And I'm like, yeah. And he goes, dealer's choice. I'm like, yeah, dealer's choice. And so he said, okay, let me think about it. And he leaves, and then he comes back with a bottle. And granted, I don't know how much the bottle is. I don't, it's his to curate.
That's something I would check out first, but.
And so he said it was National Women's Day.
Friday was International Women's Day.
So in tribute to International Women's Day, he brought me a bottle from Napa by a winemaker. Her name is Helen Turley.
Okay.
And so
she's a woman.
I don't know if there's a lot of women winemakers.
I mean, there's probably some, right? There's got to be.
But I guess she's kind of famous for her wine is great, but she's a little eccentric and a little nutty. So the wine was called Blanquiet, something like that.
Sounds about right.
So, he does his thing, he pours it, and I'm like smelling it, I'm like, so kind of like this tequila here. I'm like, so, I smell oak, smell a little agave, little bulldog ass, right?
Is there any chicken blood in this one?
No.
Okay.
That's the mezcal.
Okay.
What is it called?
I don't remember.
I don't either.
But it has chicken blood in it.
The blood of a chicken. So the wine, I can't quite get it. Like, I'm like smelling it, but I'm like, what is that? And so Cameron comes back around, and he says, what do you think of the wine? I'm like, it's cool. I'm like, but it's definitely different and unique. It tasted amazing, but the smell was something that I couldn't quite put my finger on. And he said, oh, it smells like green peppers. And I was like, yeah.
That seems odd for wine.
It smells like green peppers.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but
Did it taste like green peppers?
No, it was very kind of that Camus, like very blueberry fruit front.
Okay.
A little drier than like a Camus, but perfect with a steak. So then he's like, that bottle of wine's really exciting. I'm like, do you want to try it? Because he said he'd never tried it. And he goes, can I? And I go, yeah. And so he goes back to the back, and then he's coming down they have this long, like, kind of ramp that comes down into one part of the dining room. And he's walking down the ramp with an empty glass, and he's smelling the empty glass.
He's practicing.
Well, I asked him when he got there, I'm like, why are you smelling an empty glass? And he said, oh, sometimes the dishwashers use too much soap. And so I want to make sure. He goes, oftentimes the wine is compromised by a bad dishwasher, and I'm trying to explain something to a customer, or they're not happy with the bottle, and really it came down to too much soap.
Yeah, it tainted the actual wine.
So he's like testing an empty glass, which I thought was fascinating because I know just enough about wine to get in trouble, but I thought that was fascinating. And so then he tried the wine, and it was amazing. And then the salads come, and here's where the business lesson comes in. So the salad comes, And they put it in front of me, and then I asked the guy, I'm like, can I get pepper? And he just like freezes. It was kind of like the same feeling like when I said, did you see Jimmy Kimmel? Like, he didn't know what to do. He froze. And I'm just looking at him, and he goes, well, did you taste it? And I go, no. I go, but can I get pepper? And he goes, well, that's how the chef intends it. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, do me a favor. Would you taste it first and see if you still want pepper? And I was like, oh, I get it. Like, okay. And then it made me think about this thing that I read a long time ago about Henry Ford, that before Henry Ford would hire somebody at the executive level of Ford, he would take them to lunch. And if they salt and peppered their food before they tasted it, he wouldn't hire them.
Really?
Because he said they were in a rut. They just had a habit of peppering food. And I started thinking about that. It's true. Like when you go to a restaurant, they bring the salad. Like they're like putting pepper on it. You haven't even tasted it. And they're like, tell me when to stop.
Yeah, right.
And just going crazy, which
it's a ton.
Which I love.
Well, yeah, because it makes it better. They would be super offended because I just put hot sauce on everything.
Even on salad?
Yeah, why not?
Well, I don't know, because that's weird.
No, I wouldn't put it on salad.
Are you one of those people that puts ketchup on everything?
No, I actually don't eat ketchup that often.
Who was it? Somebody was telling me yesterday they put ketchup on macaroni and cheese.
Oh, no. Put hot sauce on macaroni and cheese.
Yeah, I don't know.
But not that. But that's true. People do get in their ruts, and they just get into the habit of doing that. Whether it be putting salt and pepper on stuff before they taste it, whatever. But that applies to like every aspect of life, I think.
Yeah, no, it really does. People lose track of what is important. What's important is the taste of the salad or whatever it is. You just get in a habit of doing things, and you do them without questioning yourself. And
what famous person were you eating with?
Oh, so sitting next to me was Anderson Cooper.
Oh, fancy.
And Anderson Cooper is what I would look like if I didn't dye my beard. Like, he's as white as these lights. Like,
he's like translucent.
He
It's
was
weird.
there with his husband.
Okay.
Nice, like, said hi, sweet guy. And I really would have loved to have just like slipped over to their table and like said, okay, so it's CNN. Do they give you talking points? Like, how liberal do you have to be? Like, because it is odd to me that Anderson Cooper, to me, seems like a pretty ethical guy that has a pretty good head on his shoulders, has worked hard for what he has.
Has he? Isn't he a Vanderbilt?
No, he didn't have any money. He is, but he didn't come from money. No, bro, he was the guy out there during the Gulf Wars and stuff. He was in areas that nobody would go. Like, that's how he got on TV, was being in places nobody else would go. So he's definitely, I think he's paid his dues and earned what he has. But it's always odd to me that Fox News and CNN will report the same story so much different.
Oh, no, it's two completely different narratives.
And I just wonder how much of that is him and how much of that is somebody in a room upstairs at CNN going, here's our narrative today.
Well, I think both networks probably have. And I mean, this goes back to what we talked about, I think, on the last show with like sort of the propaganda stuff. Like both networks have their own sort of narratives that they push. So they pick and choose the elements out of the story that further that narrative for whichever side they're pushing for. And that's kind of what they go with. And then you have the other thing I noticed too, and Anderson has sort of become this. A lot of these news anchors are now more like opinion people.
Yeah.
Which is interesting.
But the opinion is always left.
On CNN, yes.
Yeah, and so how could, like, here's the thing. Like, if you and I were talking politics, right?
Which we've done.
People will say, like, oh, don't talk politics because, you're going to fight or whatever. And I'm always like, I'll talk politics. You can change my mind. If your point's better than mine, I'm coming into the conversation wanting to understand, not trying to shove my opinion down your throat. And so I'll ask a lot of questions and I want to understand, but I don't believe that we know everything anyways. Like, unless you're sitting in the room at the White House and the CIA is, briefing you, you have half the story to begin with.
We don't, and those networks don't have the full story either. But you're right. Like, you should always be willing to engage in a discussion, because if you have a strong opinion, there's a chance someone else has a strong opinion as well that's different. Why not hear them out? Ask questions.
And it seems to me Anderson Cooper would be that way, but he's on a network that isn't that way, and it feels like that what I've seen, and I don't watch him every night. Like, I'm not watching news, but it does seem to me that the narrative is very far left. And I would have loved. I mean, it seemed like him and his husband were having a nice romantic dinner, but I would have loved to just slip over and be like, "Hey, Anderson, can I ask you a question?"
Most importantly, though, you're saying that if you did not dye your beard, you would look like Santa right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Really?
Yeah,
How
at
old-
least on the sides.
How old are you?
47.
All right. I have one really long white hair that my barber keeps saying that he will not cut.
You're just gonna like grow it to.
I don't know what I'm
Kung
supposed
Fu
to do with it. He
status?
won't cut it.
Why won't he cut
I
it?
think he's just messing with me. I got to get a new barber.
This tequila is really good.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, you can have a little if you want.
I'll get some in a bit.
Yeah. So should we take this first call?
Sure.
Adriana, is that how I say it?
I think it's Adriana.
Adriana, how are you?
I'm well. How are you, Chris?
Amazing. What is your question?
So my question is, what is your advice as far as being able to connect with people who are, I don't know, more conscious, more creative, who I can bounce ideas off of as I'm starting to kind of put together my business plan? I find that a lot of people, when you give them ideas about launching your own business, especially when you've been in the corporate world for so many years, look at you like it's an insane idea. And, it's a very kind of unsafe place to dip your toe. But I'm kind of looking for people who've, experienced that and understand that that's kind of like the best strategy to kind of create your own business and really have more control of your income stream.
What kind of business are you creating?
So I'm trying to put together an online platform that helps businesses improve employee engagement through better communication. So it's called Create Your Place, and it has like 5 fundamental values that represent place, which is positivity, love, accountability, compliments, and empowerment. So I'm trying to make it feel very non-corporate and give people all the leadership books say the same thing, and every time I read them, I feel like they're leading you to the water, and I'm like, okay, I just want to drink already. I could have summarized this in 5 pages. So, kind of getting what I have known to work best in corporations that are highly engaged and corporations that are not as engaged, and kind of give leaders the tools that they need in order to have better teams.
How's selling it going? Are you having a hard time selling it?
I'm just building it right now. I haven't even tried to sell it.
Okay.
I'm still in the corporate world,
So you're still working 9 to 5?
Yeah, I'm working 9 to 5, and I work on this from the time I put my kids to bed to about 1 o'clock in the morning. And I'm constantly listening to Audible books and doing whatever it is I can to kind of create that space in my head that allows new ideas to come in. And I've had some really great ideas by being able to, meditate and do whatever it is that I need to do in order to think more creatively. But I have a vision of what it looks like. I don't have any marketing skills, but I can get them. I'm in a business school right now, like an 8-week business program that kind of shows you, what you need to think of, how to, create your ideal customer, how to really figure out your target market. So I'm working on those things, but I haven't even begun to get revenue in, so I don't have numbers for you.
Okay. I'm gonna help you a little bit. You'll probably get more out of this than that 8-week business school, in that what you're trying to do, because I'm in that field, right? Mm-hmm. And so what you're trying to do is going to require educating your buyer before they buy it, which is always twice as hard to sell. So when you come up with an idea that's original and creative, it is always harder to sell because you have to educate people on your idea before you educate them on what it'll do for them. And people, it's like the best analogy I can think of is pop music is popular because it's easy. And if a band comes out like Frank Zappa or something that's different than what people are used to, it takes longer for that to catch on. Now, it creates a stronger niche. It creates a loyal following more than pop music in the long run, but the timetable is much longer and the ramp up is much longer. So let's dive into this a little bit, and then we'll get back to your original question. So if you're going to be selling this to the HR managers of a business, correct?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, I feel like it would be something that is accessible to anybody who is kind of a more edgy kind of business order, like startup tech and, boutique, creators and stuff of boutique markets such as, I don't know, This Is the Great or Shop Doan or, kind of high profile lines that understand, the power of empathy in their brands and kind of have that as like a ongoing, niche in their market in the way that they market. So, but yes, I mean, I guess their HR people would be the ones I would have to sell this to.
Okay, so an HR manager, give me an example of a company that would be your dream company to sell this to.
Goop.
Goop. Okay, so you're the HR manager of Goop. So just put on your meditation hat and put yourself in a little trip to the HR manager from Goop's office, and you're sitting there at the desk. What is it that is your challenge day to day?
Clear communication, having kind of.
So I didn't say the CEO's office. I said the HR manager. Communication is more the CEO. See, this is good for you, Adriana, because you got to understand that the person making the decision doesn't benefit from what you're selling. Do you get that?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so that's what I'm telling you is when you're trying to create a new niche or something different than what they're looking for. So do you think that a platform that improves communication and creates your place is more important to them than sexual harassment training?
Yes. I think that sexual harassment training, those businesses have down. I mean, there's like 1 million people who do that already, Navex Global, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that
I'm asking which is more important, not you're
which
not
is more
answering
important?
my question.
Oh, no. Well, legally, it's required. Yeah, sexual harassment prevention training, for sure.
Okay, and as much as there's a lot of people out there doing it, it still requires a lot of work to facilitate that, right?
That is true. Yeah,
okay, so what would be the next thing on their list that is important? So, sexual harassment, the stuff that they legally have to do, and then what's the next thing on their list?
Like a good accountability process, I imagine, internally.
No, the next thing is going to be onboarding new employees and indoctrinating them into the cult of the business.
Okay.
Right?
So, yes, hiring, onboarding,
and
company culture.
And getting people excited about Goop.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm just trying to paint the picture that you're fourth or fifth down the list, and you're selling something that doesn't answer a problem in their head. You're selling something that's a dream, it's an aspiration, but it doesn't solve an immediate problem. And most of the time with startups or fast-growing businesses, it's about an immediate problem. And so more than business school or anything, what I would encourage you to do is to go out and spend some time with these HR managers, buy them lunch, get in their office, listen to what motivates them, and then tailor your training to answer their problems, and then put what you want on the back end. But if you try to sell what you want, it's going to be a much longer ramp up.
Okay.
Does that resonate with you? I know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, no, I've been interviewing people, so this absolutely helps.
And what are you learning when you interview them?
I'm learning that they have a big problem with engagement. So that
training's boring.
Their what? Their training's boring.
Training is boring.
Yeah, it is. People don't like trainings. Yeah, I understand.
No, we run into that too, and with what we do. So, what else have you learned?
I've learned that a lot of training, it's not that, you're not giving them the right tools. A lot of the time it's attitudinal. So the problem is that, people don't believe what they see. I mean, they don't see what they don't believe what they see what they already believe. So the selling point, what I believe is important, is to start by talking about how big the attitude coming in already impacts that person, so that I can sell it based on that. Because when I say I think it's an attitude problem, right, and people don't understand how, what they're doing and how they're messing up is a product of them and not everybody else, which they continue to blame. So my big aha moment in all these interviews is that I need to start by discussing, how the first step in my, online platform training is talking about them, right? And what attitude they bring to the job. What are their preconceived notions of people who suck at their work or who are always late, and how they respond to those, right? Because if I think that you are crappy, everything I view is that you are crappy, right? Because it's supporting my idea of this crappy employee is here and works for me and they're never going to change. But if we're able to start by discussing attitude and painting a clear picture of how it's not them, it's you as a leader, I think that I would get more buy-in.
I think you want to go one step further and you want to sell them on the outcome. So you're still selling kind of features and benefits. What you want to sell them on is the actual outcome of what they will get from the training. So what is the best case scenario of what would happen to them if they went through this training you're going to create?
I think that the best case scenario is that they would be able to identify their own biases very clearly in a non-kind of judgmental environment that holds them accountable still. Like, I'm not going to be like, it's that all of this is actionable. Like, we can move past all this. But if I sell them on really honing down on their already preconceived notions of people and have them take more accountability, then they would have a kind of more positive perspective and more tools to be able to motivate people and connect with them authentically versus only talking to them when they mess up, right? And being able to understand how important it is to celebrate the wins and catch people doing something right versus, only connecting with them when they, fuck up.
Yeah. So you're still saying the same thing, though. So let me give you another analogy to help you kind of see this a little bit different, because you're gonna struggle selling this, but your heart is in the right place, and just a couple little tweaks will make this a lot easier for you. So let's say you and I have a business together, we're partners, and we're selling a workout eating plan. Okay. So we go to market with this workout eating plan, and we say, listen, our plan here is going to show you what workouts you should do, how you should lift weights right, and what food you should eat. How well do you think we would sell?
Not very well.
Well, that's what you just said to me.
I know. I didn't say that you're going to lose 10 pounds in 2 weeks.
Not even that. You want to go a step further. You didn't tell me about how I'm going to fit into my wedding dress from 20 years ago, or what I'm going to feel like at my class reunion, or how much, if I'm a single guy, how many girls are going to be chasing me, or, whatever it is. If I'm a girl, that I'm going to have a big butt because big butts are in style, right? Or whatever it is. You're selling features and benefits. And so you have two things kind of going on here. One is you're not selling to a hungry crowd. You're creating a product that you want. And then the second thing is you're selling features and benefits. So you kind of got two things there that we can tweak very quickly. Is the first one is, have you heard the Gary Halbert hamburger analogy?
Mm-mm.
I've said it on the show a couple times, but so Gary Halbert used to do this thing. Gary Halbert's one of the best copywriters ever, and when he would do workshops, he would do this exercise where he'd get 4 people up on stage, and he would say, we're all going to open hamburger stands, and you can have any advantage you want, and I still will sell more hamburgers than you. And so he would go down the row, and people would say, well, I want my advantage to be I want the best meat. And the next person would say, I want my advantage to be the location. And then the next person would say, well, I want to have the best bun. And then the last one would say, well, I want to have the freshest ingredients. And he'd say, okay, well, I will beat you all. Alls I want is a hungry crowd. And so McDonald's sells more hamburgers than anybody, and they don't have the best hamburger, but it's fast and they have a hungry crowd because people are running late, they're hungry, they just want to get in line, get a hamburger, eat, and go. Nobody's sitting there and, going crazy and writing reviews about the different characteristics of a McDonald's hamburger, but they sell the most hamburgers. Does that resonate with you?
Mm-hmm.
And so you want to find a hungry crowd. And so, like, I'll give you an example. In our training, one of the things we developed was sexual harassment training, because we know that we want to make it easier for HR managers to put our training platform in place. But we know there's kind of 2 things for companies that they want. The stuff that's mandatory, so we make that easy, and we give them the sexual harassment training. And then it goes into a platform where if somebody takes it and passed the test, that they understood the sexual harassment and, they're tested on each little module. It's saved for the HR department forever. So if there's ever a lawsuit, they can go print it out and say, well, hey, Johnny took the harassment and he clearly understood it. He still just wanted to play grab ass. Mm-hmm. And so they're protected. Then the second thing is they want their platform to be something that they can upload their own culture, their own propaganda, their logos. They want it to look specific to their company. They don't want to look like they're logging into Chris Collins' platform. Mm-hmm. And so those 2 things are closer to a hungry crowd. And then what we're selling that your company is going to be the best in their industry. Your company is going to always be growing with scalable systems. We're selling the end result, and selling a little bit of fear and what is hell. And so your idea, I would love for you to come down here and just hang out with me and tell me what your ideas are for the training, and maybe there's something we can do together, because we have hundreds of companies on our training platforms. Mm-hmm. But I just really would think about where's the hungry crowd and serving that first, and then adding in the stuff that you are passionate about on the back end.
Now, if I'm serving just the hungry crowd, wouldn't that hungry crowd, because they're hungry and the burgers are cheap and it's not necessarily their favorite burger, wouldn't that crowd be the least brand loyal? Like, wouldn't they jump ship as soon as there was a cheaper product out there?
No, I mean, what we find is once they upload their images and their own training, they're hooked forever. Mm-hmm. And the other thing you got to understand here, Adriana, is that there's so many different platforms out there. Like, think about Goop is probably on Salesforce or some CRM like that. They're going to have another platform for training that they have internally, and then you're going to have your platform. And they're not going to want their people logging into 4 different things or 3 different things. And so you kind of I'm just telling you from experience going around selling to big companies, you have to be the solution for all of it before they'll listen to the other part. Because the HR department just won't want to create passwords for everybody for another platform. As trivial as that is, the CEO isn't making that decision.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I'm throwing a lot at you here, but
that's good stuff to think about.
Care about your time, and I want you to be successful, and so these are things that you really want to think about.
Okay, I'll think about them.
Yeah, but reach out, come down and have a tequila with me, and we can talk about training
I would love to do
anytime you
that.
want.
I would absolutely welcome. I will take a day off work and come down and hang out anytime.
Which was the answer to your first question. Get around some people like me that are
Yeah,
going to encourage
exactly.
you.
I know. That's why I called in. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, great. Thank you so much for your call. And I'll get your number and send you a little message. And anytime you want to come down, we'll hang out.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thanks for your help.
Bye, Adriana.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Yeah, that's the funny thing is that you fall in love with this product that you think the world wants. You do all this work and spend all this money, and then you go to launch it and nobody wants it, and you haven't thought about the 10 other things that are going on, that it isn't the CEO making the decision, it's an HR manager who wants to do the least amount of work possible and have the least amount of passwords. I mean, there's a lot of nuances to that, hungry crowd. Where's the hungry crowd? Serve them.
I'm just shocked that you still have your wedding dress from 20 years ago.
I fit in it too.
That's even more shocking.
I was very round then. That's funny. Mitch, my man, how are you doing?
Hey, how are you? Doing well today.
Great. What's your question?
So my question is, I'm trying to build a highly motivated sales team right now, and I'm actually in the fitness industry and the cannabis industry as well. But right now I'm really digging deep into my fitness potential, I think. And I'm looking to build essentially a sales team that is motivated and driven. I'm looking to look for traits in people to find the shark in them and bring that out. And I'm looking to essentially know how to find these people and what traits I'm looking for in an interview process to make sure that that person is the one I'm looking for and isn't going to flake, doesn't have that quitting mentality.
Great question. Great question. So what is it they're going to be selling?
Personal training specifically, fitness packages.
Okay. And so there's probably three things here we want to talk about. So at the top of it, your first question is, how can I tell if somebody's a hunter or not? How can I tell if they can fish or not? Right?
Correct.
And then the second one is, let's talk about your process for selling personal training, because you need to have some sort of process that, puts the customers in a mindset that they're going to buy. So your first question, I've found two things. Is the first one is their past performance. So if you run an ad for a salesperson and you're interviewing salespeople, what I always ask them to do is bring their results from the previous place they worked. Because the best indicator for a salesperson of future performance is past performance. So if they were number 10 on the board at the insurance company they worked at or at the last gym they were at, they're going to be number 10 for you. If they were number 1, if they were the top salesperson, then there's a chance that their ego won't allow them to be anything but number 1, and that's what you want to have. And so in any situation that I've ever been in where I was hiring a lot of salespeople, the motto was you were either number 1 or number 2 on the last board you were on, or you can't work here. And you got to prove it. And so people won't show up for interviews when you tell them that. And I put it in ads when I run the ads. Like, if you're not the top 1 or 2 at the current place you're at and you can't prove it, don't even bother, applying. And so you got to have a discipline, but it works. And so I've been in situations where after a year or so, I had the number 1 or the number 2 from everywhere that they came from, and I was selling, and I didn't have to be a great motivator. The team was self-motivated, and that's what you want. So the first answer to your question is, make them show you where they were on the board before. See pay stubs, see the leaderboard. The good salespeople will have that information. Like, they'll walk in and they'll go, look, of all the AAA insurance salespeople, I was number 2 out of 300 in my market.
See, that's wonderful, because I was looking for a trait when I should be looking for data.
Results. Because the fact of the matter is I don't care what personality test you put them through, the best salespeople I've ever had are awkward, and you wouldn't hire them if you didn't know their results. They're a little awkward. They're a little off. They're kind of introverted in a weird way. They're better at following a system than they are super, extroverted. And so, yeah. So past performance. And now when you start doing that, it's going to be a little painful because you're going to have to interview more people. You're running an ad for a salesperson and you're used to getting 100 people apply. Now you'll only have 5, and you'll get a little bummed out, and you're going to have to put it in more places. But the end result will be worth the pain and the extra work. Now, the second one is, here is a little interview tip you can do. This is a Chet Holmes tip that I've heard people explain it before, but the best example of it is Chet Holmes talks about it in his book. The Ultimate Sales Machine was the book. And he says in there that at the end of the interview with a salesperson, just drop the hammer and say something to the effect of, well, Mitch, I appreciate this interview, but I'm just not really feeling like you're a fit, or I'm just not really feeling like you're the right person. Something where you take it away at the end, which is really hard to do with the poker face, and it feels a little shitty the first time you do it, but you take it away. And the best salespeople will say, Chris, I don't think you're listening, but I'm an assassin. And that's the person you want. If they can't handle your objection in the interview, they can't handle an objection for a customer in the heat of battle.
Brilliant. That's a brilliant idea.
Some sort of takeaway at the end of the interview. So they, the more they feel like it's going great and the more they feel like they have rapport with you, the better it works. Because you will be surprised that the good ones go, Mitch, I don't think you're listening. I'm exactly the person you want for this job. What is it you didn't understand? And that's the person, if they have a track record of performance and they do that, you got yourself a keeper between those two things. So the first one is a track record of being number 1 or number 2 wherever they were selling before. And the second one is taking it away at the end of the interview and telling them, I don't see that you're right for this, and seeing how they overcome that objection.
That's two wonderful things that I can definitely use.
Now, the third one here is I'm actually starting a syndicate for gyms, and I have a couple people that have been in syndicates. And the process for selling personal training is you need to humiliate the customer at the point of sale. You need to take pictures of them with their shirt off. You need to make them bend over and touch their toes. You need to make them do sit-ups and push-ups. You need to really make them understand how out of shape they are. So there needs to be some sort of questionnaire at the front that's like, what are your goals? And they're all feeling questions, like feeling, and then some sort of physical test, take your shirt off, measurements, like slowing it down and just being like,
just body shape.
Oh, have you always been 44 inches around the waist? Like, I know that sounds cold, but your closing ratios in mine, I think the lowest I've heard for a closing ratio is 60%, and the highest is like 100%. And
really,
it helps if you have a cute girl do it too, or a cute guy. Like, all those things add up. But the process of selling personal training is a system in and of itself. You're creating an environment and an emotional experience that, 1, makes them buy, but 2, actually makes them stick to it, because it is like Tony Robbins' whole thing of walking on fire, right? You want to have a transformation that not only are they going to buy personal training, but they're going to stick. You don't want them to do 3 of them and quit. You want them to actually commit to something for a while and it become a lifestyle. And so you need to break them down, and there needs to be a real serious needs analysis, emotional experience at the time of sale.
Awesome. And like I said, those are things I actually have a process, and I think it's fairly streamlined, but and it involves actually, I like that you said it right before the sale, you throw in that embarrassment, because currently how I'm doing it is I'm taking them through a workout that they really can't do, and that's where they get embarrassed, because they can't, stand on a Bozu ball and lift a foot up. They fall off the ball. They can't put their hands above their head and do a squat. Their knees go over their toes, and they almost always fall on the ground, and they become humiliated at that point. And then I say, Mrs. Jones, toward the end of the sale, right before I flip the page, we had X, Y, and Z happen in our workout. You don't know how to schedule this, essentially, in much nicer words. You don't know how to do. You have the time. You have the spouse who is supporting you. Now let's do this. And I kind of go from there.
That's
so
a good
I like
start,
the fact that
but
you put the embarrassment right there.
More feel questions at the top, and then make them take off their shirt.
And then just go, ew.
Oh, how long? How long is that?
Is that your body? That works really well.
No, don't listen to Tim.
That's why
Lots of feel questions at the top, Mitch. Too. You're talking about feeling. I think people get caught in features and benefits. Like, when's the last time you trained is way less important than, have you ever had a trainer that you liked? Feeling questions.
Okay.
All the questions on my sheet are feel questions. So let me know if, I would love for our audience to have some feedback. If you try my process with hiring salespeople, let me know how it goes. Understand
100%.
one thing, the right ad is going to get you less people applying, but the right ones applying, because you're challenging their ego. So when you write that ad, if you're not number 1 or number 2 where you're currently at, don't even apply. The right people are like, oh, it's a challenge. This is my kind of place, right? Winners want to be with winners.
Right. Right. And another thing I find, though, is personal trainers, they say they're competitive, but they're not. They don't understand that they're walking into a sales job that's glorified with the actual training aspect of it. It's a sales position that has a training component.
Yeah, but make that process so good that any trainer can do it. All they got to do is bend over and pick it up. Like the form, the feeling questions are all on paper. If they just follow the process, they're going to be good. Awesome, Mitch. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you.
Bye. Sorry, Mitch, I didn't mean to cut you off, but this is a very important part of the show here.
Dirty business news.
Should I leave?
Miss Diamond.
Hey, is this Chris?
This is Chris. How are you?
I'm fantastic, and you're going to be fantastic too, because I want to say congratulations. You're my 69th client today, so your rate is only going to be $6.99 a minute.
Really? Thank you.
69th client.
Isn't that so exciting?
Yeah, that is, but there were 68 before me?
Oh, yeah, I pump them out, baby. I'm only halfway through my shift.
Oh.
Pump them out. So everybody just tuning in, my fetish, at the top of my fetish list is that I like to call sex lines and have beautiful women like Miss Diamond read me the business news, real sultry and dirty, and what Diamond and I have kind of created a little chemistry here where she actually will embellish a little bit with me.
And we all watch from the corner like weirdos.
Yeah. So I'm ready. I have my tissues, Diamond. So what's our first?
Oh, I like that. All right, well, there's a whole bunch, and they're all over the place. So let's just start at the top. All right, you ready for this bad boy?
Yeah.
Okay. A dissatisfied Taco Bell customer used the eatery's kitchen to make his own Mexican pizza. That sounds kinky. Is that a sex move?
I don't know.
Like dirty Sanchez, Arabian goggles, Mexican pizza. What do we think? Do I need to scroll down and look?
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, no. Oh. Sorry, I don't eat fast food. I wasn't familiar with this. Okay. It says that. It's so funny. South Carolina cops are looking for a man who went into the kitchen of a Spartanburg, South Carolina Taco Bell and made his own Mexican pizza after rejecting the two that employees had made for him previously. I don't know why that's business news. I think,
well, it's difficult customers. Everybody in business has customer complaints. And so maybe we will see a trend in business where people are like, just let the customer cook their own food if they're not happy.
I mean, people would shut up, I think, probably for sure. It says that he wasn't satisfied with them because there wasn't enough meat. And one of the way I run my business is you always got to leave that customer wanting more. So maybe Taco Bell's onto something.
And you always take extra meat, right?
Wait, there's an
Well,
important thing
I
about
like
Taco Bell meat.
Extra.
There's a really important business lesson in Taco Bell meat, Diamond. Do you know what it is?
What's that? That it's not actual beef?
It's not chicken, it's nothing. You don't go in and order
What
a
is
beef
it?
taco. It's mystery meat. So any country they go into, there's certain countries that don't eat cows or whatever. They never have to explain what the meat is. It's actually a genius business move. You have no idea what that meat is.
It's basically a powder, I think, and they mix it with water.
Wait, how would you know?
I went to the Taco Bell test kitchen once.
Tim eats the
What?
test kitchen?
Yeah, I got to go to the Taco Bell test kitchen. And
Were you responsible
Wow.
for the Dorito taco?
No, I wasn't responsible for anything. It was a work related thing, and we got to go, and they showed us all these futuristic things they were working on, and they're all basically the same ingredients, just a different shape. But yeah, it's
Right.
weird because like the meat it looks like a powder or something. It's odd.
So it's powdered meat, and this guy wanted more. He was pissed, so he made his own, and I don't know.
Diamond's disgusting.
They have a lot of bathrooms
Once-
there too.
yeah, I'm kind of grossed out.
When's the last time you were in a Taco
But-
Bell?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Oh, I couldn't say, at least 20 years ago.
Yeah, I think it's about that for me too. High
Yeah,
school.
I
Other
don't know.
than the test kitchen, that's probably about right for me as well.
Did you eat in the test kitchen?
Yeah, they forced us to try some stuff.
Ooh,
Did you feel okay afterward? Did your tummy hurt?
absolutely not.
It was a rough ride home.
Yeah.
All right, you ready for the next headline?
Yeah.
Okay. U.S. and Canada are the only two nations still flying many Boeing 737 MAX planes. I
Yeah.
don't know what that is, but I like the sound of it.
Well, Miss Diamond, they've been dropping out of the sky in Europe. They're a new Boeing plane, and two of them have crashed, killing a lot of people.
What?
Yeah, so one just dropped.
Well, how
a
could
couple
that
days
even get
ago.
approved for flight? I mean,
Well, in Europe they're banning them, but here I think Southwest Airlines has a bunch of them, right?
Yeah, I think that airline is the one that bought the most of them in the U.S., but they haven't grounded them yet, which is terrifying because I'm flying that airline in
I'm
2 weeks.
flying to North Carolina tomorrow, and maybe
On
I'll
a
hit
Southwest?
No, I don't know what I'm flying. It's not South. I never fly Southwest, but I'm sure it's Delta
Okay.
or American or something.
But other airlines
well,
have
I
bought some
don't
of
want
them.
you on a 737, baby. I don't
A
want you on
737
that.
MAX.
Yeah, Max.
Yeah,
that
I wonder
Max
why. I wonder
makes
why
all
we're
the
not
difference.
banning them here, just until they figure it out.
Because America doesn't ban anything that's dangerous for Americans.
Especially if it's an American company.
We banned straws.
Yeah. Mhm.
I don't know. Maybe a quarter
This
of
is
my family is hired by
crazy.
Boeing in Washington. Okay, what's the
Who
next
knew?
one?
Okay. I like this because it's Dick's Sporting Goods falls sharply after giving a weak outlook for 2019. That sounds fun. Falling.
Why do I feel like she's a
Let's
member
see.
of the Dick's Sporting Goods rewards program?
I feel like she is using dicks out of context.
I think I am. I think I'm loving it. Let me see what this is about. So it's clearly a sporting goods store, but something
Remember, this
about,
was on our list a couple of weeks ago of companies that are going to be filing bankruptcy.
Oh, yeah. I was asking you about Sports Chalet and where they all went. So Dick's, I mean, aren't they one of the last men standing when it comes to sporting goods?
Yeah, but they still aren't selling an experience or anything that's that important that people can't just buy it online. So they're struggling.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the thing with Dick's is if you put me in charge of Dick's, I would be having NFL players going in there and doing clinics. I would be sponsoring, young kids in peewee baseball and football. I would be out in the communities I would turn half of the store into batting cages and experiences. I would get people into the stores to play, not just buy, because you can buy all that stuff online. You walk into them and they're way overbuilt. They're huge, and they got these big Nike sections. They got these big golf sections, but you can't really play. I'd put batting cages. I'd put all kinds of stuff in there. I'd make it interactive and an experience.
Go-karts?
No, you went too far.
That sounds fun, but it sounds everything you're saying. I'm just like envisioning this as you're talking.
Tim was talking
so
to somebody.
hot.
He comes back and he's just like, go-karts. You don't even know.
I was just thinking about
Diamond
go-karts.
and I are having our own little intimate moment here.
I apologize.
And go-karts doesn't fit.
I will look up go-karts on my own.
A. Vernon on Instagram says, the one near me keeps remodeling, which is actually just shrinking the size of the store and how many products. Yeah. You can buy all that stuff, Vernon, online on Amazon and get it tomorrow, if not the same day. So why would you drive to Dick's? Dick's needs to create an experience. So Dick's, if you're listening, just like Petco, I don't know, write me a check for $1 million and I'll fix your business. And it'll probably take me 90 days, and you won't like everything I say, but you'll be here in 10 years. I can fix it. Same thing with Petco.
I like that about you, Chris.
But they won't call.
They never call.
They're in a room right now just trying to figure out,
what if we sold more fish?
Yeah. What if we merged with Petco? It's like that's like Sears and JCPenney's merging.
Although ironically, like Bass Pro Shops does really well, because you're right. It's an experience when you go there. And they're not all over the country, but in the places they are, when you go to those Bass Pro Shop places, it's a real experience. You get to try things, and they have awesome hats.
You know what I'm loving about this is we're only paying $6.99 a minute.
I know.
Mama Bear is going to be so happy.
Can we always be your 69th client?
I mean, play your cards right. We could just try every week. See what.
I feel like you've been working hard today, Diamond.
I'm, not all guys last as long as you. We'll put it that way. So it's fairly easy for the most part.
What do most guys do when they're done? Do they just hang out up, or is there like a nice goodbye? Is there like you smoke a cigarette together?
Is there awkward conversation?
Click.
It varies per person. Sometimes you just get a and then they're like goodbye. Sometimes you hang up on them. Sometimes it's on me to end the conversation because you can tell that they're uncomfortable or embarrassed. So it's my job just to make sure everyone feels super loved and accepted.
We want to keep them coming back.
Is there
exactly?
Is there like a phone sex version of cuddling?
No, but sometimes people will want you to act. They'll want you to act stuff out. They'll say like, "Oh, take the phone into the bed with you and let me hear it rustle on the comforter." So they think they're there with you, so they can like envision it. But
are you laying on a bed, or are you just sitting in a chair?
Right now, I'm at my desk, so I can have up all these headlines.
Yeah. So you pretend like you're going to the bed, but really you're just in the kitchen.
Potentially with a blanket to rub the phone on. Hey, stop blowing up my spot.
Hey, before the next headline, can I ask a fetish question? Diamond, do you know what feedism is?
Is that different than a foot fetish?
Feedism, not feetism.
Oh, is that like where you try to get people fat?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Yes.
Plumpers or whatever. What are they called? Feeders?
Something like that, yeah.
Feeders. Yeah, there's these there's like skinny guys that will try to get their girls really, really heavy, right?
Yeah, I saw this documentary thing that it came up in, and it was like fascinating.
So unhealthy though.
Oh yeah, it's
How
not good.
I mean, I'm not against
400
anybody's
pounds
fetish,
fascinating.
but not healthy. And these poor girls are trying to please these skinny guys. They're like 300 pounds.
I think it's more of like an addict and an enabler, and they just happen to find that perfect match of like. I mean, I think that's all it is.
The dirty talk.
That's different than a fetish.
The dirty talk is weird in the documentary I saw because the guy was feeding the girl, and he was like, "Yeah, get fatter," and it's like it's just weird.
And what does the girl say?
It's not
like,
really sexual.
Stuff my big fat fucking face, you nasty pig. Oh, yeah, feed me, you dirty whore.
She did not say that. She just said more
She
Cheetos.
should have, though. The
More Cheetos,
documentary would have
please.
had more viewers
Yeah.
if Diamond was in there.
It was...
Diamond, have you ever thought about directing a documentary?
No, I don't know really what topic I would venture into.
I feel like you'd be genius at writing one.
Well,
the
I
way
still
you
have you on
jumped
my
into-
homework of that book that we're writing together.
Oh, what's the
you know,
title of that?
Keeping the skank whore that he fell in love with.
Oh, that's genius. We came up with
Yes,
that?
yes. We came up with that a few weeks ago.
That would be a bestseller for sure.
It's on our list of projects.
I think so too. Yeah, and then we'll turn that into a series and then a feature. We'll do all that. Fuck the documentary.
Well, we could always have a documentary as a follow-up.
I have a...
Okay.
I have an
I'm
idea
open.
for a novel. It's a thriller called My 69th Client.
All about Chris.
That's funny.
All right, let's do the next headline. Facebook temporarily removes Elizabeth Warren ads about breaking up big, bigger, big, yeah, big tech. Oh, yeah.
That was amazing.
They can just remove ads like that?
I forget what you said about Facebook altogether. What did they do?
They're removing Elizabeth Warren ads. I don't know why she would need an ad.
Oh.
But
I think I know this because she's coming out saying that they should break up Apple and Google and Amazon, and she's going to run on that platform. She's running for president. She wants to break up the big tech companies. And so...
So the tech companies took her ads down.
Yeah. Which...
Interesting.
That kind of tells both sides of the story.
Yeah, right?
It tells the story that makes sense that they would take them down, and then the story that they control everything. So if they take them down, where's she going to advertise? NBC?
Right.
She's going to be buying... She's going to buy ads on the NBC Nightly News. Those ads are probably mostly Viagra and things like that, right? For the older demographic.
It's
Whenever I watch regular TV anymore, it's all prescription.
every commercial.
It's all
Which
pharmaceutical
makes
ads.
the only people watching it are retired in Nevada and Florida.
It's that
watching
and
TV.
the My Pillow guy. I see a lot of those.
The My Pillow guy.
There's a
I
guy
have a
who...
couple of those.
Oh, you have the My Pillows? Are they any good?
They're okay. They're okay.
All right.
They were a gift.
He claims he created the greatest pillow ever.
From a customer or...
It's all right. Actually, yes, it was from a customer.
Oh.
If you'd like me to send you my wish list link, I can do that. If you want to send me some gifts.
We're already paying $6.99 a minute.
Send it over. I'd be curious
Okay,
to see
excellent.
what's on there. I want to read that. Can I read it on the
Okay.
air?
I think, sure. I think you'll be
Is it just stuff
pleased
like
by my
kitchen
level of
stuff
taste.
and like...
You need a KitchenAid
What-
mixer.
Diamond, what's the least sexiest marketing you could do is send a wish list of like blankets and pillows and dishes. It looks more like a wedding
Hey,
register.
I'll tell you what. It used to be all lingerie and like kinky stuff. And what happened was I got overwhelmed by it. And people were asking me, like, what do you want for your house? Because they feel like we're in a relationship. And so I actually was getting a lot of good response from putting things
Makes
I
sense.
literally just needed around the house. People bought me art, house plants,
That makes sense.
shoes, you name it.
How many mattress protectors are on that list?
I don't even know what a mattress perfector is, but I'll look it up after this call.
You'll probably want to add it.
Send us
Okay.
that list. We want to see that list.
For sure. All right, you ready for the next headline?
Yep.
Okay. Catnip cocktail linked to bizarre, irrational behavior on the rise in New Jersey, police say. So this sounds like some sort of a drug epidemic.
This is how we
let's
save
see.
Petco.
By selling the catnip cocktail there, and all the junkies can get their fix at Petco?
Exactly. They should be selling DMT,
Okay.
catnip, all kinds of things.
I don't think people who are doing catnip are the same demographic as people who are doing DMT.
Have you been to a Petco? Listen, I've never been in a Petco. I actually went through this thing recently where I needed cages and those It was a total waste of money, by the way. If anybody needs those dog hamster water things that have like the little
those are
tube
terrible.
None of my dogs will use it, but we did this thing where I locked them down and got each one of them their own little condo. And you go to Petco in Diamond, there's nobody in Petco that you're gonna hang out with. They all look like lost zombie drones. So I think that you could really kind of liven things up by selling a little catnip, DMT, Viagra cocktail thing in there.
What does the catnip do to you?
It makes cats horny.
So
I think.
basically,
Doesn't it?
What does it do? What does it do to people, though?
Oh, it makes you. Yeah. What does it say it does?
let's see. It's similar to GHB, which, as we know, is the date rape drug. Now, from what I know about GHB, it can actually be quite pleasurable, like MDMA. So I think it depends on the dosing.
Why is it date rape?
How would
then?
you know? Because you can take too much and lose consciousness. But if you find that perfect amount, it can be very enjoyable.
That's too much math.
Not that I'm condoning
Can't do the math.
drugs.
No. Yeah, I've never tried any of that.
Well, the catnip cocktail, apparently you can get if you want to try it.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. I'm not eating dog food, any of that. But I just think that Petco needs to do something. So they can, can you imagine standing in front of the bankruptcy judge and going, listen, we have this plan to turn it around.
We're going to sell catnip to humans. They're going to get high. It's going to be great.
CBD for pets. That's fun. Well, thank you.
Maybe they should just put a Starbucks inside.
Right, in the back. You got to walk all the way through Petco. That's funny. Thank you, Miss Diamond. The beautiful Miss Diamond with the Dirty Business News. That was fun. Little Miss Diamond. She was on one today.
It's interesting because I don't know what her other calls are like with her clients, but she turns into a little news anchor with us.
I know. I think it's probably a nice break in our day.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for tuning in today to the Business Whisper. Remember, when we are not here, you can call the 8337-WHISPER, leave a message. We actually have a fancy voicemail set up, and we will call and schedule and make sure that you make it on the show. Otherwise, I hope everybody has a great week, and we will see you again next Tuesday live. Thank you.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. Okay, I don't know. Whatever it is, it's not right on the teleprompter. I don't know what that is. I've never seen that.
No, there is. We are going to do Sting, yeah.
Okay, but now I can't read it. There's no words on it.
Okay. Ready? Sure.
There's no words there. To play us out. What does that mean? To play us out.
Sting is going to do. It's a video. Sting video.
What is
for credits?
I don't know what that means. To play us out. What does that mean? To end the show?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Go.
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it.
In 5, 4, 3.
That's tomorrow, and that is it for us today. And we will leave you with a. I can't do it. Okay. We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. Fuck it.